person that encouraged me to do it was my dad's instructor.
Right here, in this area, one of the most awful actions you could think of has happened right here. And to this day, most people are quiet about it. Let's check it out.
72 Station Log 1 in custody.
I was door dashing that night. Just because I was Christmas Day. Didn't know what I was doing wrong.
Because it could happen to you. People are charged every day with crimes they just didn't commit, and the consequences can and have ruined lives. We asked, was justice really served? If this happens to you. Tonight, 11 Investigates brings you a story you have to see because it could happen to you. People are charged every day with crimes they just didn't commit, and the consequences can and have ruined lives. We asked, was justice really served in this months-long investigation? You'll only see here on WTOL 11.
And that is false. How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to break down Rob Shaffer's case here out of Defiance. He was arrested in December of 2021, and he was arrested and charged with OVI for no proof, and they dragged the case on for 4 months and then dropped it when they proved that when the test results came back and he had 0.0 of any drugs or alcohol in his system. And this is just another case out of here, out of Defiance, Ohio, out of Northwest Ohio, where where the corruption. This is all about the corruption, and as they said, this is a story you have to see because it can happen to you. It will happen to you. But Toledo 11 is, and we'll break this down. We'll show you this is not much of an investigation at all. So I'm gonna break down their video. I'll be cutting it out a little bit and maybe cut some out of it. So I will leave a link in the description to the Toledo 11's original video of this case if you want to check that out. And also if you want to see the full dash cam video coverage, you can find that on Lackluster's channel, and I will leave a link to that in the description as well. And so we'll go, before we get started, a couple of things we're going to be looking at is where's the crime and where is the corruption. And we're going to talk about the constitutional rights, the law, who does it protect. Okay, so first let's just be clear on this as we're going into this. There's some people that don't understand this, that your rights are not constitutional rights. They are your rights given to you by God, and the Constitution is the law that recognizes that and protects that for you. the law is actually the Constitution. Everything else is codes and statutes that they make up, rules for you. The Constitution is the law that protects you, protects your rights. And as we get into this, we'll see. I just want to throw this out there. When any person, whatever reason, if you're claiming a special class, it is what it is. You got to do what you do. I mean, maybe there is something to it, but if there isn't, you can't do that, because then we all lose. Because anymore, it's like you don't have. They make it as if you don't have rights unless you belong to a special class, and that's not true. We all have rights, and as we'll see in Rob's case and many other cases here out of Defiance, they're after you only because you have rights. It don't matter what the problem is, whether it's your color of skin, whether it's your sexual preference, or whatever it is. They are they're after you just because you have rights, and when they violate them rights, it's big money for them. And that's what this is all coming down to. Toledo 11 says they're going to tell you what to do if this happens to you. We're going to break it down and see what we have here. And we're going to look at Toledo 11 is, in my opinion, mainstream media, part of it anyways. And they are only protecting. As we break this down, you'll see that they're actually protecting the system, and they're pretending that they're coming out on the people's side, reporting on this, but how they do it really just takes our minds off the real truth and protects the people behind the system. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll get this. I broke their video down into 2 sections, so we'll let the first half play, and then we'll stop and talk about what we got there, and then we'll go to the next half, and then we'll finish it up. But hopefully this will be helpful to people, 1, to see what's going on down here, and 2, anyone who may end up in one of these situations, maybe this will help. Let's go ahead and get started.
And you said it was a black, what kind of car? I'm sorry.
Black Ford Escape.
I remember it was a Monday night because I'm a big Miami Dolphins fan, and they were playing Monday night, so I wanted to catch the second half.
It was December 27th, 2021. Rob Shaffer, who is a transgender person, was making his last DoorDash delivery of the night from McDonald's to an apartment complex in Defiance. Just as he pulled in, he realized he was getting pulled over.
I didn't know what I was doing wrong.
Defiance police officer Whitney Schock's dash cam video shows the explanation she gave to Rob.
So the reason I stopped you is because we had a complaint that you were driving all over the roadway, that you were going left to center a couple times. So I just want to make contact with you, make sure you're okay.
I'm just doing DoorDash. You got the wrong person.
No, we were given your vehicle description, a black Ford Edge, as well as a plate.
I don't know who they're talking about.
Okay.
All I'm doing is DoorDash.
The officer never tells Rob during the stop she saw him do anything wrong and continued to cite only a caller.
They said you went left to center several times. That's what you're aware of? Okay, have you had anything to drink tonight?
I don't drink.
Rob says he became increasingly upset when it became clear he was suspected of drinking and driving.
I was getting agitated because I don't drink or do drugs. I never have.
Officer Schock then proceeds to administer a field sobriety test.
I'm going to take a look at your eyes if you're okay with that. It would show me if there's any alcohol in your system or anything, okay? You're moving your head still, just your eyes. I know it's difficult. Do you need a break for a second?
No, you're pissing me off
Okay.
because I haven't been drinking.
'Cause I'm gonna-
Give me a damn breathalyzer. I'll pass that.
Well, I don't know that you're under just the influence of alcohol. You're under some sort of impairment, but I don't believe it's alcohol. I agree with you. I don't think it's alcohol.
After more field sobriety tests, Rob is arrested for OVI.
Okay?
There's no excuse for this.
Go ahead and turn around. Place your hands around your back for me.
Rob was taken to the Defiance Police Department for a urine test, where he says he was strapped to a chair. During that time, he says 2 officers made derogatory remarks about his gender.
I heard another male officer say that you know, they're going to have fun with him tonight at CCNO because I'm the closest thing to a woman some of them will ever see.
Rob lost his jobs at DoorDash and as a Paulding school bus driver because of the OVI. He thought about suicide and even made the decision to move to Toledo, but could not secure an apartment, again because of the OVI charge on his background check. The local newspaper reported his arrest, and the case was on its way to court until 4 grueling months later when Rob finally received the results of his urinalysis. 0.0 for alcohol or drugs. The case was quietly dismissed.
Okay, have you had anything to drink tonight?
I don't drink.
Rob had been telling the truth. He was not under the influence that night. But he'd already lost his reputation, his jobs, and his will to live.
Basically, sorry, we got it wrong. We messed up your life, but sorry, we got it wrong.
Not only
All right, so that's about the first part of it, of his case. And really, the truth is, if they were doing a proper investigation, they just told us everything we need to know right there. So they point out right away, one point I'm going to get into, and I'm not trying to say anything towards anyone or, you know, whatever, but I'm just saying they point out right away that he's transgender, and this is the angle they're going on, to try to say that this happened because he's transgender, and that's really not the case. I don't want to stick up for these corrupt bastards here, but the truth is that he is violated just because he had rights. They didn't know if he was transgender when they pulled him. Now, the person that called may have, that may be the reason, but I'm saying the officers in the city and all that, that's highly unlikely if you know what goes on down here, especially Rob is the one that threw the one parade together, and the city was glad to allow it. So, which was a LGBT parade or whatever, but so, and then right away, Toledo 11 points out that the officer never seen Rob do anything wrong. And there's the main thing right there. There's the big thing right there. The officers never seen Rob do anything wrong at all, but they still decided to pull him over, harass him, and arrest him with no evidence of nothing, only because a person called. Around here, this is a big problem. We'll break that down, but if anybody, if you need to find a copy of the Constitution, I challenge anyone to tell me in there where it says it's invalid if somebody called the police. Okay, this is a very big problem around here, that you're going to be violated just because somebody called the police. Okay, and then they point out that Rob had been telling the truth. Okay, but what they ignore is that the officer blatantly lied, and it's all right there on their own video. And at the beginning, they show where the call, where the person who called in said supposedly the car was swerving or whatever, and then said it was a Ford Escape. But he's driving a Ford Edge, so when they pulled him over, you know, they claimed that this officer, Whitley Schott, says, oh no, we were told a Ford Edge. And they weren't. They were told a Ford Escape. So she lied right off the bat while Rob's telling the truth. So, but, so also then one place I want to point out on Rob, and I'm not attacking him for this, or, you know, some of this stuff we just don't know, or we don't think about it as this moment happens. But one thing he did wrong is to say, just give me a breathalyzer, I'll pass it. And wrong or not, because he knew he would pass it or whatever, but that's the reason. That's maybe not in his case, but you don't want to do that, because as soon as you do that, then they can only give you the one, you know, either the breathalyzer or a urine, or the, you know, it's only one. So if they would have gave him the breathalyzer, if he would have not said that, they may have went ahead and gave him the breathalyzer, and then he would have passed it, and that would have been it, possibly. But instead he says, just give me the breathalyzer. So I mean, I've been in this situation. That's the only reason I'm saying it. As soon as you do that, then it triggers the officers to say, okay, he ain't drinking, maybe he's got other drugs in his system. And they don't care if you got it in your system that you just recently done it. As long as they can prove it's in your system, then they're going to try to use that and say that you were under the influence. And just for, I mean, if you end up in this situation, don't do that. Don't tell them anything. And we'll get to some of that later. But okay, so then they say the paper reported his arrest, and we'll just point that out because here we have the local government trashing your name for no reason. And they drug it on for 4 months with a 0.0. And we'll break more of that down later. But so right there, mainly that's the whole case right there. Really is they pulled him over based on somebody called. They never observed him do anything wrong. And I'll just say where they're pulling into these apartments is they seen him pulling in there. They probably didn't know he was DoorDash or anything. They assumed he was going to be where he was going to end at, and they was hoping to nail him. They was hoping they had a OVI, and they was hoping to nail him before he got parked in his house. So that's why, you know. But the point is, they had no right to pull him over and then harass him. He should have refused all the tests, but that, you know, they probably would have still arrested him because that's what it is. They were called, and they were going to make an arrest, however it goes. So we'll go ahead and get to the rest of it.
Not only did they get it wrong, Rob thinks he was targeted because he's a transgender person. He filed citizen complaints against Officer Schock and the other responding officer, Zachary Higgins, as well as prosecutor Troy Essex. 11 Investigates asked for the personnel file for Officer Schock. In 2 reviews, she received very good and satisfactory marks in various categories. However, in December of 2020, her reviewer noted under areas that need improvement, confidence and knowledge while conducting standard field sobriety tests during an OVI arrest.
When I talked to the prosecutor that's arguing,
we asked a defense attorney about the stop. He points to a problem when Officer Schock gave Rob that sobriety test by checking his eyes.
I'm going to take a look at your eyes if you're okay with that.
There is precedent that addresses this. It states bloodshot eyes is not enough for an officer to ask a driver to perform field sobriety tests.
In addition, we asked for all OVI arrests in Defiance between February and July. 9 officers contributed to 24 arrests. But records show Officer Schock made no OVI arrests during that time. The city attorney provided no response when we asked why. There are also concerns about the reliability of the person who called 911 that night in December. 5 months before the incident, Timothy Chase Eubanks Bruce was arrested by Defiance police on a felony child endangerment charge. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Hi, how are you doing today?
11 Investigates also asked the city attorney about the traffic stop and the behavior of the officers.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you have the YouTube app on your phone, you could be using it to make up to $10,000.
Quote, the city handles allegations by the public against public employees with the utmost concern. The Defiance Police Department and the City Law Department performed a thorough investigation into these allegations. The investigation found the allegations against city personnel to be unsubstantiated and unfounded.
They're constantly crossing the center line going south on.
Rob believes the call was made because he is transgender. Bruce denied that when asked by 11 Investigates.
it is illegal, one, to give false information to a police officer or a dispatcher, which especially when there's an element of a hate crime or a hate aspect to it.
11 Investigates also contacted the Ohio State Highway Patrol, which took 4 months to process Rob's urinalysis. A spokesperson says the processing times have improved since Rob's arrest, with the hiring of 2 new chemists. Davis still sees that as too long.
In today's day and age, when we have modern science and smartphones and better technology, they ought to be able to turn that around much faster.
We're gonna go back in here.
Because of the damage, the incredible damage it can cause to an innocent person.
72 Station Log 1 in custody.
Rob was eventually able to get an apartment in Toledo and got 2 new jobs after the charges were dropped, but says that OVI is still lurking on his background check. Now, attorney Mark Davis recommends if you get pulled over, here's what you're going to do. You're going to turn the lights on in your car, open the windows, and put your hands at 10 and 2 so officers know you're not up to anything. Be polite and cooperative. You are not required to consent to a search or field sobriety test. All of that could be used as evidence against you. You are also not required to submit to a breathalyzer, but if you know you haven't been drinking, taking one could be in your favor.
So there we go. They just told you what to do if this happens to you, right? Put your hands at 10 and 2, put your windows down, and cooperate with the officer. Do whatever they're told. Okay, that's nonsense. So let's break down the second half of this. This defense attorney, first of all, this proves what we're up against here in Northwest Ohio. What kind of defense attorney is this? He gave us no advice, and he acts so stupid. He denies there was a hate crime. Now, I don't know what, none of us know what. I believe there could be something more connected between Rob and the caller. I don't know. Just something's gone on somewhere there. And the point is, it very well may be that he might have had a problem with Rob being transgender. That might be why he called. This defense attorney don't know that. He says, oh, well, he can't do that because that would be illegal. Why would we have lawyers? So nobody does anything illegal? Okay, this is, whatever. But really the person that called, it really doesn't matter. That's between Rob and that person personally is what that breaks down to. If he can prove whatever, then he can go after that person. But it doesn't matter for this, for the case against these corrupt officials. So that's a separate matter. As for what we're looking at, it don't matter. The person called, it don't matter who he is, what it is. The cops had no business and no right violating his rights. They should have done their job. They should have stood up to their oath and held up their oath and said, well, we haven't seen him do nothing wrong. And okay, it's not a problem that they went to check. Somebody called, so they went to check and they found Rob driving, but they not seen him do nothing wrong. There's the problem. Okay, they should have never pulled him over. They wrongfully pulled him over, and they wrongfully arrested him, obviously. And so he points that out, but ignores the rights violations. He ignores and he helps make excuses about why it's okay, and like really these people are just having a problem doing their jobs. Accidents happen, or not enough people working so it don't take 4 months to get your results back. The way I'm understanding it now, Rob was must have been defending himself in this case, and they knew, so they drug it on as long as they could, knowing that I almost guarantee that this is what happened. It didn't take 4 months to get those results. Ask me how I know. Years before this happened, I had a urine test and they had the results back right away, within a week or two. By the time you get your first pretrial, they should have those results. And if they don't, then they have no proof and you need to get the case thrown out. So, but it don't take that long, and this defense attorney knows that. He knows what's going on. The system is playing a game, and the reason they drug it out, because they was hoping maybe Rob might have some kind of drugs in the system and get paranoid and take a deal. And that's what they were hoping for, that he would take a deal before the 4 months was up. If he takes a deal, it don't matter what they prove, because then they throw that away and nobody knows any better. So, good thing he didn't, but they drug it on, ruined his life, and by all means, I feel for Rob on this. They ruined his life, and they said, thought about suicide and all that. Hey, I get it. And poor Rob, and he deserves justice on this. And so then Toledo 11's investigation says they asked for all the OVI arrests, and when they got them, there was 9 officers who did 24 arrests. But Officer Shaw had 0 OVI arrests, and they asked why. So that don't even matter. None of that even matters. All the previous arrests. If they're investigating, but they never asked the question, how many of those 24 arrests, and those 9 officers, that's just the city police. That's not counting the sheriffs and state. So what they're looking at is the city police records. And 9 officers did 24 arrests. But they never asked how many of those are innocent, how many of those people were violated, how many of those were wrongful, whatever. So that's what they give us. And so then that's their investigation, and then they say, then they point out what to do. They asked the defense attorney, who obviously don't know his butt from the hole in the ground. He knows how the system works. He's just protecting the system is what it is. He's a part of that system. These lawyers get their money no matter what. You win, you lose, they get their money. And so they tell you what to do. Keep your hands at 10 and 2, roll your windows down, be polite, and obey the officers. That's wrong. They were violating his rights. And then they go on to tell you, you are not required, you are not lawfully required to take a field sobriety test, and you can deny that if you want, and you should. No matter what the instance is, deny taking it, resist taking it, do not agree. But they're telling you, but if you haven't been drinking, you should take one anyways, because it might. No, obviously it didn't. Rob wasn't drinking, Rob wasn't doing drugs, and did the field sobriety test, and it was not in his favor. So, that just tells you the ignorance of Toledo 11 and their supposed investigation. What they did with their investigation here was taking the problem off of the rights violations, taking the attention off of that these city police this is how they're trained to violate your rights. They don't know nothing about their oath. They're not upholding their oath, and they are totally in violation of the Constitution and your rights when they post stuff like this. And it's a big money scheme, and that's what we have there. And that's their big investigation, and that's what they told you what to do. So, what do you think on that? You can go ahead and leave any of your whatever you think in the comments or whatever, but use the comments, please, by all means. And so that's what they came up with, and that's their big investigation. And they didn't tell you nothing, and they didn't investigate nothing. They lied right from the start. And that's their job. Mainstream media, they're not going to sit here and tell you that this prosecutor is a piece of crap who should have done his job and upheld his oath and dropped this case immediately. He did not. They're not going to tell you that these cops are out there just violating their oath and violating your rights. And how many of these people, they don't even look to how many more people were violated, because if they would have looked further in this, they would have ended up into my case, because mine happened a month before Rob's. Okay. So anyway, so what are you going to do if it happens to you, right? Well, here's where normally on, we'll get into support and all that, but normally on my videos, the ones I have out so far, normally I'm not putting too much on how to donate or support this channel. But today I'll go ahead and throw different ways you can donate if you'd like to help my cause. And because from this, you're going to get, from this video, the ones where I am giving information that could be helpful, that could save you thousands of dollars in legal fees and thousands of dollars in attorney fees. represent yourself, because around here, especially around here, here in Defiance County, here in Northwest Ohio, these lawyers are in bed with the prosecutor and the courts and everything else, and they're all working against you. I promise you that. My case will prove that. And if Rob had used a lawyer, well, this defense attorney, whatever his name is, that Toledo 11 used, proves it right there. All right, so we're going to break down what to do if this happens to you. You know, way better than they have. First of all, I have these cards here, and if you're in this area, if you're in this area, you see me around, or you find these laying around. I've been throwing them around all over the place. You get one of these cards, and or you can make one up. I'll try to post one up there. You can make one up that will that you can have on you. And if you're not from this area and you want one of these, you can contact me. I'll leave links or whatever, but if you send a $2 donation, I'll send one in an envelope to you, right to your address or wherever you're mailing, whatever. And only the $2 is just to cover my cost and for the card to stamp in that envelope. And or you can make one up, no big deal. And but you want to have one of these cards, and everybody's got a cell phone or extra camera, and you always want to have one with you in your vehicle or wherever you. When you have interactions with any of these public servants, you want to be recording. You definitely want to make sure you're recording, and record everything. Even if you think you're in the wrong, record everything, because they will slip up. You don't want to tell them anything. You want to stand on your rights, and you want to make sure you're recording. And the one way you stand on your rights, when they pull you over, you hand them one of these cards. As soon as they pull you over, you know, you want to make sure you have one of these cards and your camera rolling. As soon as they get up there, you have the camera wherever you have, whether it's in your hand or somewhere where it views all that's going on with the cop. And especially, I'll tell you, around here in this area, it happens all the time. You ask for their recording evidence, you ask for their the recordings, and if they are in violation, my case totally proves it, the recordings don't exist. Somehow, for your case, the recordings don't exist. You want to make sure you're recording. And it's easier said than done. Sometimes the heat of the moment happens and we don't realize and think about it, but this is what you want to start preparing yourself for. It don't matter, you get pulled over for 2 miles over the speed limit, you want to record everything that happens. And so that's the thing, the cop comes up to you, and the first thing you're going to do is, your officer, here's my card, I'm recording this, and that may stop things right there. So, you know, so they pull you over, something like this.
What's up, pig? We doing this today?
Ha! You don't want to do it that way. That's teasing. You know, they're, as you can see clearly right there, I did not have a camera in my hand. So, because of that right there, they pulled me over, I opened the door like that, and they're going to say anything they want. They make up anything. Hey, he had a camera in his hand, we had to shoot him or something. Just kidding, okay? So really, it should be more like, this is what you want to do. And have the camera rolling, have the card ready.
Good day, officer. How are you serving me today?
So that's what you're gonna do, you know. Something similar to that. And you want to take your stance and show your dominance immediately. Show your rights. You're the person in charge of this. Hell with their, you know. And so we're gonna break down a few more things. And here's a few things I want to throw out there. I'm going to be talking about motions and lawsuits and you know, I'm not going to show I'll throw one up there, but on my website, I'm having trouble getting my website updated. It will be soon, hopefully. As soon as I can do something about that, I will. But on there, you will have, I have them already made up. I just haven't been able to get them uploaded yet. I got to do some updates to my website, get it more geared towards what we got going on here. Because for years I ran it for something else. But on there you will find, not yet, but as soon as I get a chance, I will have them up there. You will have the templates of these motions, different motions you're going to use in different cases. Like we're going to break up other kinds of cases down, but in Rob's case, I'm going to break down what you're going to do. But when I'm talking about the motions, we'll have other videos coming out that will explain and show you how to fill those out, how to type them up, and depending on the motion, what it should say and stuff like that. As for a motion to dismiss, as soon as I get it up onto the website, I mean not the motion and demand for discovery, I'm gonna have one of those up for the template, but you can actually just copy that one word for word. You just have to change your court and your county and all that stuff, but otherwise the rest of that motion you could use word for word. It's pretty basic, but we'll get to that later on. So the motion, you want to make sure you have the card, the camera rolling, and you're going to have to be prepared. Once they pull you over, you got to decide how you want to do this, and you want to make sure, you just don't want to tell them nothing. Let them do what they're going to do. In Rob's case, they was going to arrest him anyways. He should just, and I'm not blaming him on this, but this happens to all of us, but he should just kept his mouth shut, just let him arrest him, and then but he still got a case. It's not that he didn't mess up his case. It just, caused this to be a little harder at that day than it should have been. And these corrupt officers should be ashamed of themselves. That's another thing. The point, Officer Schalk, they wondered why she didn't have no arrest when they checked all those arrests. It don't matter, it don't matter why she didn't have no arrest. What matters is how many of them arrests were actually violated, how many of those were innocent people, or even if they're guilty, sorry, if you don't have a right to pull them over or a right to, sorry, you gotta do your job and protect the Constitution. Our rights, our lives are being ruined, literally ruined right now over all this stuff. So, what to do? Here we go. What to do? First, step one, you're going to stand on your rights and don't let up. Stand on your rights and don't let up. If you're watching my case, you're looking at Rob's case. Rob's standing on his rights, and he's still fighting this. He's still going through stuff, and he's got lawsuits on his hands. And hopefully he does it right, and all that is what it is. He's following his routes. He's got other media getting in on it, and but you want to stand on your rights and don't let up. Step one: start recording. Rights card, and inform the officer of the violation. As soon as they try to say something like Officer Schalk says, the reason I pulled you over, someone called. That's when you're going to tell her right there, well, what'd you see me do wrong? You didn't see me do nothing wrong? Then, you're going to have to stop this right now. You're violating my rights, and you're going to refuse all tests. Refuse all tests. You don't have to. If you want to, take them, but you have nothing to prove. And they'll try to twist that around on you and say, well, if you're not guilty, then you wouldn't have nothing to hide. And no, you have nothing to prove. It's not your job to prove anything. It's them to prove you're guilty. So don't tell them anything. Don't submit to any test. Ask for a supervisor, and you'll go over this with the supervisor too. Most likely, they're hard up for it. They're still going to try to charge and arrest you. You probably won't go to jail, but they're going to try to charge you. But screw it, okay? Step two, you're going to go to court in your arraignment. First, you're going to inform the judge of your rights violations. He's going to try to get you to proceed or whatever. First, you're going to inform him of your rights violations. Now, that may not stop it. That may not do anything, but at least you want to make sure everything's on the record. It could come back, when you're letting the court know and you're letting everybody know that your rights were violated and they ignore it. Now later on down the road, you're going to come back after them because it's on the record that you tried to let them know right away what was going on. You're going to inform the judge of your rights violations. Then if he proceeds, you're going to say not guilty, right? And from there, your next step is going to be, you're going to let it go, whatever. Then you're going to wait for your pre-trials. You're not going to wait, but as soon as you get the chance, you're going to file your motion and demand for discovery. Get that turned in. And when you get the discovery, you're going to find out, in Rob's case, you're going to find out there was no 0-0 or whatever, or they didn't even have supposedly the results yet. Well, then you're going to file a motion to dismiss because you don't have no proof that I've done anything wrong, and you're not going to drag this on, and file a motion to dismiss. And we'll show you that later. Step 3. Then when that's done, then you're going to file your complaints against the officers to the chief, the law department, the mayor, and attorney general of your state. You're going to file your complaint to the bar association, against the prosecutor, and you're going to and then you're going to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against the officers for violating your rights, against the prosecutor for violating your rights, and malicious prosecution. And that's where you can go right there, right now. And those are the steps. And that's not all the steps. That's not everything. But right there, I just told you a whole lot more than Toledo 11 did. And if you follow those steps in that order, you could have this thrown out right away. The problem we're finding out down here is the cops are skipping, or the lawyers are skipping these steps even when they know they should be doing them, and that's causing these cases to drag on, and people's lives to get violated. With that, I thank you guys for watching this. Please consider supporting my channel. Like, subscribe, and share, please. It helps me a lot. And I will have more videos coming out to get more in depth on how to do these motions and other legal aspects and what we can do to fight back. Please consider supporting. I will throw up any monetary donations I will accept through this video, because I've given you stuff to help you out. And we can get way more in depth, which we're going to later. Right now, I wanted to break down Rob's case, what happened there, and what we need to do about it. And I thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll see you on the next thing. Thanks a lot.